Hey, Paul, how you doing? Good to have you here tonight.
Good to be had.
Hey, Eddie Trunk, who's the host of That Metal Show, been a big fan of. Will you ever show up on the show? Will you ever go there? Come on.
What's going on, Paul?
Honestly, that's I guess an acquired taste for some, and to me, it's Wayne's World. The only thing missing from the bits I saw years ago was Party on Wayne or Party on Gar. I really, I don't think, no, the less said the better, but no, I can't, I can't imagine being a part of that.
Sinking Stanley.
Okay, so let me get to this final piece and then we'll get over to the phones in the second hour. And I will address this now. As everybody, my phone has been blowing up with texts and emails, both from friends that I know and also just fans for the last 36 hours because Paul Stanley was at this event and I hosted it. You would think from the amount of emails and texts and posts and questions that I've received about this, that Putin and Zelensky were in the same room together. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I beyond my expectations that people are this enamored and this, like, I don't know the word for it, fascinated by the fact that I was hosting an event that Paul Stanley was at and in the same room with him for the evening. Well, I'll tell you one thing more that nobody knows. The night before, I was with him as well at the same event. Because this past Sunday night, Criss invited all the performers and his friends to go to his show, Mind Freak, which we all went to. And Criss has a backstage room with a bar in it, and we were all in there, including Paul, as well as Robin Zander and Tammy and some of the musicians that were performing that came in for the event. And then, of course, Monday rolls around and, Paul was there as a guest of Criss's. They're friends. Paul was not part of the performance. He was not scheduled to perform. And to answer all of your questions, and this may be disappointing to some of you who are looking for, something more here, we did not speak either of the nights. We did not interact either of the nights. Now, I'm not saying that in a negative sense, like, anybody blew anybody off per se. But look, I'm not a dummy. I understand that the guy is not, for whatever reasons and whatever is in his head over the years and decades, not a fan. I get it. I get the fact that he does not like me, and it's fine. I'll never really fully understand it because I do what I do and he does what he does. And as a musician or an entertainer, you've got to understand that there are people that are going to be writers or journalists or broadcasters that aren't going to love every single thing that you do in your career. But we've been all of this has been covered and covered and covered over and over again for years. And the funny thing is, which it's so overblown. So much of it is so taken out of context that honestly, I don't even know what it's about anymore. I really don't. But what has been, anybody that's followed my career, and I can honestly say this, knows that no matter what has gone on, or no matter what's been said or not said, or how anyone has been treated or whatever, I have never, ever, ever, and I'm very proud of this, never let that get in the way of me still being a fan. That will never cloud me being a fan. You want proof? Well, this Friday on my New York City FM radio show, for the 32nd year in a row, I will be playing 3 hours of nothing but Kiss on the radio. So, and as you know, we talk about Kiss all the time on this show. So no matter what people think, no matter what's out there that's accurate, or the amazing amount of inaccuracies over the years, the bottom line is I'll always be a fan. Never stop being a fan. And no matter what's thrown at me, or accusations, or truth and not truth, it's not going to change me being a fan. There's never been one time in my life, in my career, no matter what's happened, that I have not said that Kiss was my most important gateway band into rock music, and that Paul Stanley was always my favorite member of the band. There's never been a time I haven't said that. I don't care what's gone on. And that will never change. Now, that being said, yeah, there's been a lot of weird ups and downs that, again, I don't know what the trigger points are. I honestly don't. Because there's a lot of fans out there that love to stir the pot. There's a lot of fans out there that love to take things out of context because they think they're going to get in good with an artist, by reporting, or, posting something out of context, or trumping something up. I've seen it my whole life. Next year's 40 years. You don't think I've seen and heard all that shit forever? So the reality is, things get so overblown over the decades, you don't even know what's what anymore. And the bottom line is this. Because I don't have a relationship with Paul Stanley, and I don't speak to him, I never know ever where I stand with him. I don't, honestly. There's been times where, there was literally a time like 20 years, not even 20 years ago, less than, where he recorded a very nice ID for me on my radio station in New York City that I didn't ask for. And then a couple days later, I saw him at an art thing, and he was, not so cordial. So I never know, because I don't know what gets in his head. I don't know what fans make up and say to him. I never know. Have I been critical of things? Sure. Have I been 95% supportive my whole life? Yeah. And again, I say all the time, I don't care what band you like, and you could fire any band at me. I'm going to tell you parts of their career I was not a fan of. If anyone's really being honest with themselves, I don't care what band you love, almost every case you're going to pick out points you're like, I wasn't into that period, or I wasn't into what they did then, which is what being a fan is. And I've never claimed to be anything more than a fan. So the bottom line is, I never know where I stand, and I was not about to get into an awkward engagement. Not that I would ever confront or be rude or anything, but that wasn't what the event was about. And I wasn't about to put Criss in a weird spot, who's good friends with Paul. I wasn't about to put anybody in a weird spot. There's no point to it. I'm not looking for anything. So again, I talked to some people. We were both in the same room. He talked to some people. We watched the show, Chris's show on Sunday. Afterwards, we all went back there. He talked to some people. He left. We did a toast on the stage with Criss. That was it. And then Monday rolls around, and Paul is there with his wife and shows up early at Chris's party on Monday. And he's there at the House of Blues, and he's sitting with Criss. And I said some nice things about him from the stage. He looked like he gave some sort of acknowledgement about it. And that was it. And then he decided to get up and play, which again was not planned. And I saw him because again, I was on stage on Monday hosting this thing. So I was up there the whole time. So halfway through, I see him not in his seat anymore. because it was a couple hundred people. He was at a table, like, I don't know, 50 feet away. So he sat and watched most of the show, and then I saw him get up, and he wasn't at the seat anymore, and I looked to my right, and he's in the wings of the stage putting a guitar on. So I'm getting the message that he's going to now come out and play. And with that, I just said, oh, ladies and gentlemen, we have a surprise. Criss, we got a surprise. Your friend Paul's going to get up and do a song. And I introduced him, and I walked off, and he walked on and did All Right Now, the Free song. And then Brent Woods, one of the guitar players, started Whole Lotta Love. Paul stayed out there and did that, although he only sang half of it. I mean, that song's brutal to try to sing. So my friend Zach Throne, who was out there at that time, took over vocals. Paul gave him the nod, and Zach took it over and nailed it. But yeah, he got up and did 2 songs. And again, it was all gracious. It was like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Paul Stanley. And he gives a wave and walks off. But look, it wasn't the time, it wasn't the place, it wasn't the platform. There was no need to, in the middle of a party, try to do some sort of like, because I don't even know what it's about, but he didn't approach me. I gave him his space, and that was the end of it. So there was no direct interaction, no conversations, no nothing. It was just respectful. He does what he does. He's a guest at the party. I did what I needed to do for the event. And again, I acknowledged he was in the crowd. I pointed to him. I said very nice things, which were very sincere, because everybody talked, Criss talked about how much he meant to him being there, and it was all good. Does that mean anything? I mean, so I swear to God, like I said, it was like people were looking for like a world peace summit or something. Like, I'm telling you, my phone has been nonstop. Oh my God, you're in the same room with Paul. What happened? Well, what do you think? I mean, you think we're going to somebody's going to attack someone or something? I mean, it was never like that. I just do my stuff, man. I don't know. So, there are people that have said to me that were in the room, oh, you handled it so classy and you were great what you said, and I know he appreciated. I don't know. The one thing I can tell you about him is I don't know. I have no idea ever where I stand and what goes on. The last time I did speak to him, I said, hey, I'd love 5 minutes to really figure this out. And then he left. That was an art thing. So again, I'm not going to, in that environment where everybody's having a party and he's a guest at someone else's party, which I'm hosting, that's not, I'm not about to do that. I'm telling you. It was just, it was unbelievable, the amount of people that have hit me up. So there it is. I'm sorry I don't have more to tell you. One of my friends said to me, well, the reason why we so want something to happen is because we think it would be the ultimate interview, you two. I wouldn't hold my breath for that. My door has always been open from day one. From when I started in broadcasting in 1983 till this very moment, my door has always been wide open. Am I going to, beg, borrow, put people in uncomfortable situations? No. We've both been doing this far too long for that. So it was a wonderful evening. It was wonderful that Paul supported and came there for his friend Criss. They sat together the whole night, looked like they had the time of their life. Paul unexpectedly jumps up, does a couple songs, and, that's it. All the other artists were fantastic. Everybody had a great time. It was a great vibe, and that's the end of it. So that's all I got to tell you. The more important thing about all of it is well over $1 million raised for pediatric cancer. Amazing generosity from my friend Criss Angel. And there are still some auction items on his website with all of the money going to the charity if you go to his website, which is chrisangel.com. My buddy bought the Elton John signed piano bench. My buddy Doug bought that. I made a small donation. There's a donate tab. It's really a great, great cause. And it was a wonderful, wonderful night. And there you go.
Sinking Stanley.